before we move on to the sales side of the foreign currency transaction, let me finish up the payment invoice currency validation. Actually, I've done that. Let's say if you have a foreign currency transaction for payment, we have a purchase invoice 004 that is in euro, and I settle the invoice with settlement 5 in USD 450. Let's say if I enter 450, let's say this one is 5,000, then I can calculate the exchange rate. And it has the validation. Actually, if I settle this invoice in euro, then I don't need to enter this one. But if I settle in the invoice other than the invoice currency, then I have to enter this one. Alt DL, let me just go back to the cell R9, which is the first cell of the payment invoice column. And I press Alt DL to bring up the data validation. And this is the validation. Actually, it has two parts. The first part is S9, which is this cell S9, the currency that we did in last video. If it is 1, then we don't need to enter anything because it's not a foreign currency transaction. But if it is not 1, that means it has a currency that shows up like this. Then it is a foreign currency transaction. We need to enter the amount in the invoice currency. So this is the first condition, and the second condition is number R9. So what is R9? As this one, R9. So the payment amount in invoice currency has to be a number. Just go out. So that's the validation. So let me just press ABD. Then I'm not able to go through because it has to be a number, and this one has to be not equal to 1. And actually I create a conditional format for this as well. So let me just Alt-OD to bring up the validation. Go to edit rule. You can see S8 not equal 1. So S8 is this cell, right? And you notice if it is not equal to 1, that means it is a foreign currency transaction. So we have to fill in the number amount here. You see the green cell? And you see S8, I put a pound key to lock the column, but not the row, because 8 is here. And then I press the format. I just allow the fill to be green. Okay, so that's what you see here. So I just run into a problem when I enter multiple settlement like this one. For purchase invoice 002, when I settle it in a second or later installments, I don't need to enter the date, right? So that's why I have set the validation. But when I move to the foreign currency transactions, I can't enter this one. It will return error. So let's say if I settle the invoice 002 with a settlement, let me just insert a settlement. So this is the settlement 3. Let me just make it 5. How come? Do we have 5 already? My settlement, oh yeah. You know what? I have settlement 5 here. So let's say if I settle this with settlement 6 and settlement 7. I just filled in whatever date and post date. It doesn't matter because I'm just testing my logic. Let me check what invoice currency do I have. So it should be in USD, right? So this one, USD. Let me try bank 3 to settle the invoice 003. Bank 3 is in Japanese yen. So bank 3, so I should not need to enter the currency for bank 3 because I've entered bank 3 about. So it should be Japanese yen, right? And you see there's an error. Okay, so let me just try 1500. Even if I enter this one, I got nothing. So let's say I just input whatever number. So in order to avoid this situation, I better redo the rate to P. I will add a conditional format to help me before. Okay, so let's say if I do this one, let's say 2000 yen, I'm not able to enter the currency. That's why I have to fix the rate here. Before that, I think I better help myself with better conditional format. So in case the purchase or sales revenue appears again, the transaction date, transaction currency, transaction party, and the transaction item should be white. So I don't need to enter anything. Okay. And the same case for the sales. So I'm going to add a validation by pressing Alt-O-D. So I bring up the conditional formatting rules manager. I'm going to add a new rule. I just use a formula. So in case the type, so let me just select the first cell here. In case the type, let me just press F4 to unlock the row. If it's equal to P, which is a purchase, or is equal to R. Okay, C8 is F4, or if it's equal to capital R, sales revenue, comma, and it is not the first instance that the invoice appears. So let me just go to the backend, and we do have the trans num count. So the trans num count equals 0 when the invoice appeared before, like this one, EINV002 and RINV003. Okay, so this one, let me just press F4 to unlock the row. If it's equal to 0, that means it appeared before. So when this condition holds, let me press the format. I'm going to fill this with white. And actually, I'm going to make the font red just to warn myself I shouldn't enter anything. So when I see a white cell with red word, then I know I must have entered something wrong. Okay. And then let me apply to the transaction date. Let me just move this up a little bit. If the invoice appeared before, I can skip entering the transaction total either. Tax, something like that, because it's already entered. So let me just select all of these and then click apply. Okay. How come? Something wrong here. So I do expect white space here. Let me see why. Alt-O-D. Oh, you know what? I click C4. So sometimes it happens. That's why you need to move back to the first row and then Alt-O-D to change it. Let me just click this one and edit rule. So I don't know why it's not C8 because it's 8 instead of 4. So let me just change that to 8. Okay. And then just click OK. Then I apply again. So now I get what I want. When the invoice appeared before, then I should be able to skip entering all this. After that, we move on to the backend and change the formula a little bit. We need to settle bank extract to return the settled bank account from the front end. So we have the settled bank account. We want it to return the settled bank account. So that's why we need the settled bank extract column to return the settled bank account as long as our transaction number is not blank. Okay. Then you will see something like this. Let me go back to our example. Purchase invoice 002. We issue the invoice on the July 13, 2018. We settle the same invoice with 2 settlement transactions. For the first one, I settled that with Bank 3, where I used that before. Bank 3 is in Japanese yen. For the second transaction, I settled with Bank 1. Then I should not need to enter the currency. As you can see, I used Bank 1 in Euro before. So I do expect that I have the green area for me to enter the amount. Let's say 10. Okay, it calculates the rate automatically. Okay. So when you go back to the settlement part, you notice that these 2 areas don't need to be filled in because we used the bank before. Okay. In case we select the bank that we used previously, then we are going to create the validation for these 2 columns. Alt-O-D to bring up the conditional formatting manager. And then let me just click new rule. Go to use a formula, left click the format. So we go back to the backend and I look for, let me just bring it up a little bit and select the settled bank code. As long as the settled bank code column doesn't have a bank code like a dash, then we don't need to fill it in. So I make sure that I select the first row of the table in the AZ column, which is the settle bank code column. So let me just press F4 to unlock the number, which is the row. When it is equal to a dash, just like this one, close with double quote. Then click the format. I fill that with white. And again, fill in with red word. Okay. Then I press applies to. And let me just go all the way back to the settlement interface. Select the settle bank code and the settle transaction item column. Press N to select all that and then apply. Okay, so that means when you see the white area, I don't expect to have anything inside. But why we have euro here? Okay, so when I click that, it shouldn't come out. That's the one that we previously entered. I pick up the error here. Let me just look up for bank 20. Oops, we don't have bank 20. I think I changed something before. That's why you have to keep checking your validation. So if I undo that, and let's say if I pick bank 14, how come I can't? Oh, you know what? I have to enter a transaction number. Alright, because I forgot to enter the transaction number. INV, can I do INV 003? Yes, I can. Let me do bank 20. Oh, yeah, good. Because bank 20 appears for the first time. So I have to pick the currency. So let's say if I pick euro, then I have to pick the GL account with the dot. Because euro is not the same as the ledger currency, the reporting currency. So let's say if I change this one to Canadian dollar so that it is matched with the reporting currency, CAD, Canadian dollar, then the general ledger account, I expect to get the general ledger account without a dot, okay? Just select that. And actually it's a good practice to fill in from the left to the right. Let me pay Canadian dollar. I should put the transaction party on the left of the transaction currency. Select the whole column, cut, and then select the currency column, insert cut cells. Okay. Let's say if I put bank 20, I shouldn't be able to import the party, right? Oh, you know what? If I put 20, then I have the Canadian dollar. Okay. I should add a validation for the transaction party. Let me just go all the way up to the transaction party. Select the first cell and then I do Alt-DL. Also, this one is AK8. So let me just change the formula. And this one, transaction party. Actually, for this one, I have to make sure the transaction num count, which is AG8. Let me just press F4 until it locks the letter, the column, but not the row, the letter. So this one cannot be a dash. So when you, cannot be 0. When you see 0, that means you don't need to enter. And let me just go back. The transaction party, which is in column F8. So next time, just remember to press F4 to lock the column. Otherwise, it will move. So F8 cannot be the same as the settle bank account, which is column N settle bank account, row 8. Press F4 to lock the column but not the row, and then close it. Let me press OK. So hopefully it works. Let me go back to the invoice portion. Control C, select the whole column, and then right click, paste special, take the validation and OK. Let me get back to our example, which is the bank invoice 003. Usually you won't use invoice 003 to reference your bank, but I just test my logic because sometimes you may run into the same invoice number with different vendors. That is not a good practice, but sometimes it does happen. That's why I'm trying to check my logic to make sure that I won't get any error even if we have this problem. So now I should not be able to select the bank account 20 here because I just set the validation rule. So let's say if I test my logic by entering bank 20, I should have a warning message. Just press 21. This one I just enter euro. Particular, just change whatever. Just make it a little bigger. I don't need to fill in the bank for the transaction party. Let's say if I enter bank 0 again, let me just rub that bank 0 because that's the one we had previously. That means I have to set a conditional format to make these two columns white. Finally, I create the validation in case of a withdrawal transaction. When you use a bank that was used before, like this one, I use the USD bank 1 here, and later I withdraw from the bank 1 so that I don't need to enter the transaction currency and the transaction item. Press Alt-O-D. Basically what it means is when C8, which is the transaction type, when the transaction type is boy, that means it's an interbank transaction, and AY8 is a dash. So let me just move to the AY8. So the AY8 column is the withdraw bank code. So if the withdraw bank code column is a dash, that means the bank was used before. If it is used for the first time, I assigned a code for the bank rate. So when you see a dash, let me just go back. When you see the dash on the AY8 and it is a bank transaction, then I will just have the format of white cell and red word. Okay, so it's just like this. Let me try another thing. So let me just take bank 3. So I used bank 3 before. If I put bank 3, I should also have the white cell, and I can't select these two. Okay, so let me see what else I need. Oh, you know what? For the settle bank account and settle amount, I think I should add a conditional format for these two columns. So in case if I don't enter the settle amount, I should get a white cell here. Okay, so this should be fairly easy. Simply select the first cell of the settlement bank account column, Alt-O-D, click New Row, left click the format, and then I select the settle trends number column, which is column K, right? And the first cell is 8. You must select the first cell, and then I press F4 to unlock that. When this one is blank, let me click the format. Then I'll just fill with white color and red word. Okay. Let me just press OK and applies to, actually I can apply to 2 columns, but I tend to do this column by column. It's easier to follow. So just select the whole row, apply, and you see I get rid of the green one. Okay, let's say if I remove this, the settlement amount, then these one will return white. Settlement 200, yeah, good. Then I will do this for the settlement amount also. Let me just move to the right, close this part. Oh, hold on. Let me just ungroup this one. Data, ungroup, and then I group this one because I can keep the settlement number here. So I just press Alt-O-D to bring up the conditional formatting, use formula, and then in the format, left click the settle trends number, press F4 to unlock the row, and then I put it's blank to wrap around the cell. Let me just do format that with white cell and red color. Okay, and then applies to the whole column of the settle amount. Apply, good. Okay, I just get this first, and then I will go back to do a clean conditional format after the whole program. At this stage, I just want to get my test data done. So now we've finished the payment side of the foreign currency transaction, and in the next video I'm going to work on the sales side of the foreign currency transaction, so stay tuned.